Now, if you were ever wondering what the view of Birmingham city centre looked like from the top of a 35-storey building, well, you're in luck, because that's exactly where we are. The building is called The Square. It's at the top of Broad Street, not far from Five Ways, and it is very near to completion. I have three gentlemen with me here who are going to talk about various different aspects of property. We have Sam Ginda, we have Alex Tross and Ben Davidson. Let me start with you, Sam, because you're part of the company's various organisations that are involved in this project, aren't you? So just tell us a bit about you, the company, and this place we're at today.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam Ginda. I'm the founder of Future High Street Living, and we are pleased to be part of such a significant development. The Square, we acquired the site back in 2020 and navigated it through the planning process. This will be an exceptional 440 unit build to rent apartment scheme that we're delivering for our capital partner Cortland, and we are topping out next week in the week, which is amazing, which is excellent, and practical completion will be February 2024, and we are well on track to do so.
So where we're standing here at the moment will be what?
This will be the outdoor amenity area. Our residents will enjoy panoramic views of the city. You can see behind us we've got the Edgbaston reservoir. Behind us we have the central business district, and you can also get views of the Malvern Hills that way.
It's amazing, it's amazing. What was here before then, before you started building here?
This was an old office, two-storey office building that was here for many years.
And given that then the planning for this started before COVID, before what we've all been through for the last 2 or 3 years, have you had to tweak the plans, adjust the plans as a result of people's lifestyles changing?
Our vision for the site has remained as such, and we always knew that it warranted a tall building, and obviously given the shortage of brownfield sites in the city centre, there's only one way to go, and that's up. But obviously tweaking the plans, yes, because we submitted during the pandemic. Coming out of the pandemic, the lessons we've learned, we've obviously tweaked the amenity to increase the size of the amenity, because obviously our exceptional spaces ethos is as such to create environments where people want to live, work and play all in one place.
And there's a bit of a competition going on at the moment about what's the tallest building in Birmingham, isn't it? Where are we in the league table? Second, something like that? Third at the moment?
Currently, at present, as we stand today, we're second. Moulder, the Mercian, as you can just see there, completed at 42 stories. We're 35 here, but obviously given the altitude, we are just below them in terms of height.
We'll talk a bit more about it specifically in a few minutes.
Sure.
But I want to come to Alex and Ben. You're very much looking at it from a residential point of view, from a commercial point of view. Alex, how do you feel about how confident, how vibrant Birmingham is? I mean, to me, every time you come into the city centre, there's new cranes, there's new developments, there's new ideas. It's all happening still, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I think obviously on the back of the Commonwealth Games, which is obviously a massive success and had lots of eyeballs in the city, and we're able to showcase the excellent sort of fundamentals that Birmingham has, which has been the driver for both regional consolidation and inward investment, and we think that trend's going to continue. As a market, we use a barometer for sort of success and performance, which is take-up, which is the amount of square feet let. And actually Q4 last year was 31% ahead of Q4 the previous year, so that trajectory is still very positive. We see rents have gone up despite the challenges of the pandemic and sort of the wider economic sort of headwinds, which unlocks appraisals, which encourages development. And actually very similar to what Sam mentioned, that people want quality buildings now. They want quality office space when they have to endure the commute. They want something at the end of that commute which is worthwhile. So amenity is huge in terms of what is driving that interest, and that flight to quality is very much part of that Birmingham narrative now. So despite the conversations around recession and those challenges, actually on the ground it still feels very positive. Lots of inquiries, lots of conversations about taking space.
And when you say we, and you're talking earlier, just tell us a bit about the various hats you wear.
Right, so the day job is I'm commercial director at Centric, and I run the commercial agency within the wider property group. That team that I head is both valuation and also agency. office agency, which is my sort of day-to-day, but also retail, some land and some industrial as well. In addition to which, I'm deputy chair of Colmore Bid, so I'm an ambassador for the city and try to drive interest in the city by connecting both the business community and sort of F&B and leisure offer as well. So make sure that ecosystem flourishes to get everyone's eyeballs remaining on Birmingham.
So you must love the fact that you've got something like this sprouting up, which is a bit different, it's iconic, it's eye-catching, it gets people talking about Birmingham, doesn't it?
Listen, absolutely. The more we can do to keep Birmingham in people's mind, I'm happy to support. So, as I said, it's an ecosystem. So the residential element has to work and flourish, as does the commercial, as does the F&B. And once we can support all of those, then Birmingham as a whole will prosper, and that's very much a passion of mine.
And Ben, from the residential point of view, tell us a bit about you, your business, what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Ben Davidson, founder of Davidson Estates. I head up the whole company based on Cornwall Row office. We've got an office in Edgbaston as well.
You can see both your offices from here, can't
you? Can, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Took photos already. But yeah, I head up the new homes department as well in Cornwall Row. My main role is business development for the company, though.
So would you echo, what Alex was saying there in terms of confidence at the moment in the market? Because residential, we had another interest rate rise last week, which is 10th in a row. Yeah. That must dent some people's confidence in terms of buying, must it?
It does, yeah. I mean, when it comes to mortgages, it's just education, really. I mean, speak to your mortgage advisor. I think out there at the moment, people think that they can get a type of mortgage that they actually can't, because especially if you're buying an investment property as well for a company, the deposit that you need to put down now isn't 25% anymore. You're probably more towards a 40%. So not a lot of people do know that, and that's only come into fruition really over the last month or so. So it is all about education at the moment. So when you're speaking to somebody, you need to go a bit more into detail as to how you're going to afford this.
How different is your working life now then compared to maybe what it was like before the pandemic? Are there different strengths? Are there different weaknesses?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is different. I mean, in the pandemic, there was an exodus, wasn't there, from the city, in every city, going out to the suburbs, wanting an office space, wanting an outside space. Obviously, not every development can provide that. I think since the pandemic, developers, such as Sam's, has learned from that, and the fact that they need to provide the best kind of amenities, outside space, and people will pay for that. I think there still is that little thing in the back of everyone's mind. What if there is another pandemic? If you're in Sam's building, you'll be fine. But there's a lot of other developments that you'd still struggle and you'd probably want to move out. But in line with what Alex was saying, really, I think it's all together. I mean, commercial, residential, build to rent, it's all the same. We need every single sector needs to perform, so Birmingham can flourish.
And Sam, I mean, the one thing about standing 35 stories up is it's a little bit of a different kind of environment, hence the slightly larger microphone that we need up here to battle with the elements. That what Ben says really there is what you're all about here, isn't it? Making this a bit of a sort of self-contained little ecosystem all of its own, isn't it?
In itself. Yeah. We're delivering a number of schemes across Birmingham, and when we are even putting pen to paper and designing our developments, it's all about making inclusive communities, health and well-being at the focus of the scheme, and ensuring that they're future-proofed, because there's going to be quite a number of these high-profile build-to-rent schemes coming forward. But ultimately, we need to keep the attraction of the scheme for some longevity and keeping our residents in situ.
I don't think I've ever been this close to the top of a crane ever, actually. But can you?
120 metres high now.
I don't want to know that. I don't want to know about how high it is. We just don't dwell on those sort of things. Give us an idea of the perspective of the project. How many people work on it? How much does it cost? How long has it been going on for?
Yeah, well, the project has now been on site for 18 months. There's another 12 months to go, and obviously exceptionally well to be topping out next week. We'll be completing the project in February 2024. As it stands today, there are roughly about 250 bodies on site. That will start to ramp up once topping out is done, and we start to do the internals at 300 bodies a day. So that gives you the kind of idea of how many staff are on board here to successfully get this completed in time.
So it's providing work for a lot of local trades, isn't it, as well?
Absolutely, yeah. It's great for the local subcontractors, the local suppliers, and obviously the local employment levels.
Alex, what do you see as maybe some of the biggest opportunities and challenges in the marketplace in Birmingham at the moment? Are there things that you think maybe we should be doing better, should be doing quicker, should be doing differently maybe?
It's a good question. I think ultimately what Birmingham needs to do more of is really shout about how great Birmingham is. I think we sort of historically have prided ourselves about being self-deprecating and humble and what have you, but ultimately I think we've got a wonderful story to tell, and we should really be telling it much more loudly and much more often.
Agreed.
I think, as mentioned before, we've had the Commonwealth Games, we're going to get the European Championships in 26, but actually...
Over there?
Absolutely, we can see that, yeah. Nice segue. But I think that there's a gap between those two things that we can't afford to get complacent in. So that narrative now is really quite compelling. You know, most investable, 5G test bed, HS2's coming, all the wonderful things that we all know as Brummies and celebrate, but actually what we should be doing is telling the world and the region and the country about those things so we can continue that trend of inward investment and, as I say, keep Birmingham in everyone's mind. So a bit more sort of being a bit more vocal about our strengths, I would like to see, but also continuing that trend of excellence in terms of what we bring forward in terms of our buildings. And ultimately that will start being the thing that Birmingham becomes renowned for, and that can't hurt.
Do you think there's a lot of things which maybe we take for granted here in terms of access to infrastructure, technology, transport links, and we don't realise just what strengths they actually are for this city?
Without a doubt. I think, as I said, Brummies know it and understand it. I think what we haven't done enough of is tell everybody else. And I think the more that we can do that, the more that people understand the value of being in Birmingham. Because we, you know, again, beyond more miles of canal than Venice, for example, which often gets trotted out, but that's a great thing to have, but it's not why people come. There's a lot more besides. I think our regional economy is worth about 1.2 billion. And sort of component parts of that, I don't think people understand enough. And I think we just need to, as a collective, talk more about that and showcase our wonderful city.
And Ben, we were just saying when we first came up on top of the roof here, as well as the miles of canal that you can see, you don't quite realise just how green this place actually is as well. From a marketing point of view, residentially, what are the things that you sell Birmingham as most?
Well, Edgbaston, that road down there is where the trees begin, and that's the slogan for Edgbaston really, because if you look that way, you don't see any houses. You know, the Calthorpe estate never had any industrial or warehouse units over there, so it's all houses and mansions. And that's where our head office is, so we know the area very well, but if you look off the building here, it's just literally trees. You look the other way, and it's tall buildings. So I think, yeah, it's a tricky one, but I think they're so different, both areas, and they're so close to Stover One Road. Yeah, it's an incredible city to be in.
What are the big opportunities from your point of view? A little bit similar question to the one I asked Alex, really, from a residential point of view. Where do you see things going? What are the trends telling you? Are people as nervous as maybe the media sometimes lead us to believe that they are at the moment, do you think?
I think Birmingham's the next place to be, definitely. I think it has been for a long time. You know, Manchester, the dirty word Manchester, has, you know, been ahead of us for, you know, a decade now. You know, we've just got our tram in, and it's such a good link from Edgbaston all the way through the city centre. You can go to Wolverhampton, you can go to West Brom.
Came in on it this morning.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So we've got these links now. You know, you've always got London, but I think Birmingham is now living up to being the second city.
So Sam, what's next then from your point of view? This one's been 4 or 5 years in the planning. You must already be hatching plans for what's coming next even before this one's finished.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch this space. There's a number of other developments that have pepper potted around the city. We've got a site in Digbeth, we've got in Gun Quarter, we've got another one coming on the south side. So, you know, there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes. And collectively there's another 2,500-3,000 units that the group will be delivering.
Same kind of units as this then, is that?
Yeah, well, obviously not as tall as this, but there's going to be some high profile developments as such to quantify the same amount of units and numbers for the build to rent and residential sector. Much needed homes that are needed here. You know, you mentioned whether the market can handle it of such and what the futures of the trends are. You know, the infrastructures that are being put in place for HS2 are fantastic for the region, and that's only going to drive and put more pressure on the housing stock in Birmingham. You know, you're going to see a lot of influx from people living down south that will want to shoot up and start living in Birmingham, purely from the cost of living perspective. And once that starts to happen, then there's going to be a huge shortage on housing in the CBD again.
Yeah, and Alex, I guess a side effect from that is the balance of the city centre is traditionally going to be far more residential as well as commercial, where maybe it's been more commercially weighted in the past.
Yeah, I think so, but I think that blend is positive. I think when people come into the city, they want to obviously work, but they want to socialise. I think that's the bit that people missed the most during the lockdown sort of period. So the more diverse city centre we can offer, I think the better the experience is going to be. And that experience is what draws people in, not only to work, but as Sam mentioned, to play as well.
How tall do you think we can go then, Ben? How tall would you
tall
like
is
to come
Alex?
onto it? It's Alex. He's a couple of stories higher. He's a couple of stories higher than the rest of us already. But
Well, we know that there's a lot of planning permission approved throughout the city. I think there's one for 61 floors at the moment. Sam will know more than me on that. So there's a lot in the pipeline, put it that way. Planning permission is being approved. You know, the council want a lot more residential. We need a lot more residential throughout.
and they say, don't they, you know, the health of the residential market and people who are working in the property sector tend to be the ones that get a clearer and an earlier guide of just how confident we actually are in the economy. So, you know, what's your view at the moment? Are we good? How far ahead are you looking at the moment?
Economy-wise, personally, I think it's so difficult to say. HS2 has been the drag really for the last 10, 12, 15 years. I know there's a big delay on it again, and I think that's why a lot of developers are holding off. I can't remember what it is now, it's 2033, but I think HS2 is the key to everything that we have here. Sam alluded to it earlier, people will live here and work in London. They will do it. And we're already seeing that come in here. You know, all the big corporate companies are here now as well, a lot of them. You know, BT, Goldman Sachs. You know, Alex will know a lot more of them. So, yeah, again, I think what Alex was saying earlier, just we need to shout out a bit more about Birmingham.
I guess though, Alex, we don't want too many people living here and working elsewhere, because we need the good people to be working for companies right here in the city, don't we?
We do, absolutely do. There's always that risk of brain drain, but I think reality, that makes it more incumbent on us to make Birmingham the place to be. So actually people want to come back. And actually we're already the number one destination for people coming out of London. So I think the more of that we can do, the better. But I think as long as we can just make sure we do what we need to do well, people will stay. We'll lose some, and good luck to them, but there's plenty left.
Well, we're a flexible workforce these days, aren't we? So
Absolutely.
What do you think the biggest misconception of Birmingham is at the moment?
I think people don't realise how varied the offer is, and that's in terms of the buildings, the resi and the F&B. I think people historically have thought about maybe Spaghetti Junction and the Black Country and things that perhaps aren't as sophisticated as perhaps Birmingham really is. And I think that's changing, slowly but surely. When people come to the city, people are still surprised. We had lots of conversations last summer where people will go, I didn't realise this is what you could offer. You know, we've got an incredible public realm now, thanks to Paradise, for example. It's a true European quality environment, and those things I'm not sure people were aware of enough prior, but it's changing.
Thank you for your property perspective, gentlemen, much appreciated. I started with Sam, so I'm going to finish with Sam. I've got two questions for you. One, when will people be able to reserve their particular plot in this building? That's the first one.
The letting up will begin at least 4 to 6 months prior to practical completion, and our obviously capital partner Cortland will be obviously coming to the market at the correct time with that.
And the second one, most importantly, you've cased the joint now, you've been to all corners. Where's the best view?
It's got to be there.
Which one's that one that's over? So we're over... Just
Malvern. Sorry, Malvern's that
Malvern
way.
Hills behind
Yeah,
me.
it's that one. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Final
It's the
answer?
Final answer, Malvern Hills.
Excellent. Thanks. I'm glad we brought the sunshine today, particularly seeing as I didn't bring my coat with me. Thanks for the chat. It's been great.
Absolute
Thank you
pleasure.
very much, James. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.